Hello there and welcome. Are we ready?
Yes. Yes.
We're all here and we're ready. It's breakfast all day and I'm Christy and that's Alonso and that's Matt.
Aloha.
Say hello, fellas.
Hello, fellas.
Hello, fellas. It's an exciting week because we're trying something new. So this is the regular stuff. This is the podcast that everyone can listen to. But if you're interested in knowing about other stuff like Game of Thrones, which I watched, there's a thing called the Patreon.
Yes, there is. Patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. For as little as $2 a month, you can get oodles of extra content. You can get our TV recaps, our weekly discussions of the hottest new trailers. Later on, we'll be doing some classic film reviews and other stuff as it pops up. So, continue to enjoy the podcast or the YouTube, however it is you're getting the show now. But, we're in business for ourselves now. We are free agents.
We're in it for the money.
And so,
Not me. I'm in it for the love of film.
Cinema. We greatly appreciate all of our Patreon supporters, and we hope that you'll consider becoming one.
Thank you. We've got a bunch so far, so please join all these cool kids. But for now, for today, on just the regular Breakfast All Day podcast, we've got kind of a random cross-section of movies for you.
Yeah, it's Easter week, so nothing super giant has opened.
And also next week is Avengers Endgame.
That too.
So sort of like
Everybody's
the
getting out of the way.
before the storm. So we'll have Avengers Endgame for you next week, of course. None of us have seen it yet.
I'm seeing it Monday night.
Oh, because you're going to the premiere.
Yeah, the premiere at the LA Convention Center.
Oh my God. Maybe you can like buy a boat or some ski equipment while you're there.
I'm going on Tuesday. I didn't get invited to the premiere.
I didn't either, which is fine because I don't feel like going to the LA Convention.
I-
Where are they going to show it at the LA Convention
no
Center?
I think
idea.
they're building an IMAX screen.
Really?
Yeah. That's
Really?
that's what I've been told. Is they're building an IMAX screen, I think, in the main hall.
I have no great love of premieres, but the embargo lifts Tuesday afternoon. So unless I wanted to see it in the morning and then immediately poop something out, this is my one chance to see the movie and have a little time to reflect.
Well, right. So
on Avengers Endgame.
right. So
before we write the review.
the Tuesday afternoon. Let's put this so people who, aren't professional reviewers don't understand.
I'm not professional.
Anyway, it ideally probably takes a little bit of time to churn out a review. It might take an hour or two, and especially if you care about the quality of your writing. I don't. I do it in like 10 minutes. I actually just show up and talk on camera. But the movie's over 3 hours long,
And you got to stay for the whole thing.
and the first screening on Tuesday is 9 a.m. at Disney. And then there's the next one is at 1 p.m. That's the one I'm going to. So if you don't see it at the premiere, then you're rushing you'll get out at 1 and furiously writing to get your review up.
I'm going to the 4:30, I think, after school. But we're going to talk about a different kind of superhero. In this movie we're going to start with today, which is...
A penguin. Oh, wait.
Which penguins... They survive in the Arctic and it's rough. But we're talking about Fast Color, which is sort of an indie, low-tech superhero movie. And it's from Julia Hart, who previously directed Miss Stevens. She wrote it with her husband, Jordan Horowitz, who was a producer on La La Land. He's the guy who held up the envelope that said Moonlight. The day at the Oscars when they got that whole thing wrong. So he's a meme.
He is
Right.
indeed.
He and Julia Hart worked together on this. It is about a young woman played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who at the beginning of the film is on the run, and we don't quite know why. We know we're in some sort of kind of apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic world. There's a drought that has been on for the past 8 years, and water is currency. Water costs more than a motel room in a rundown motel, and not a lot of people are around, but the few who are there are really struggling to survive. And she's got something going on with her. Some kind of force overtakes her body where she has such violent seizures that she can cause seismic activity. She can cause tectonic plates to move. And she's on the run from scientists, government people who want to know what this is about and use it for their own purposes.
Shadowy figures doing shadowy things.
They are shadowy, and this reminded me a lot of Midnight Special in that regard. In that it's kind of a low key sci-fi thriller where it's our world but a little off, and you've got somebody on the run, and she eventually goes back to her childhood home, where her mom is played by Lorrain Toussaint, who's really great, and we find her little girl played by, and I want to say her name right, Sydney, and they've all got some variations of this power, and it's quietly moving because, of course, the power is a power, but it's so often the case in sci-fi. The power is a metaphor for something else, which I think we can interpret in a variety of ways.
But I don't know that the metaphor gets used that often. I mean, in this film, yes. I mean, in general, though, I think superhero movies have become such a sort of currency of the realm that they don't necessarily always mean something. And it's interesting that this movie is using this language of extraordinary powers that we've gotten used to in movies, but with another intent in mind, rather than to like give us big Sacco action sequences. It's really about, what is this saying about character? What is this saying about the relationships? What is this saying about, our own willingness to embrace our own power, that kind of thing.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
And I found it to be, this movie actually makes me think of The Rover a little bit, from a few years back. And it's, what's his name?
Is it Guy Pearce?
Guy Pearce, which The Rover feels like takes place about maybe 6 or 7 years before the first Mad Max movie, right? It's like things haven't quite crashed out. And this movie is in a lot of the same territory. It's look, if you know what to look for, you know that this is a pretty low budget movie, but it uses its setting really well, and makes do with a minimal cast. And I thought that this it has a lot of interesting tension in it, and it kind of doles out questions and mysteries that it takes its time answering. And I found that fascinating. My only complaint is that the ending felt a little hurried. Like, we got to wrap this up quick, right? And I think that this is a movie I actually think could have done with a little bit more, maybe taken a little bit more time towards the end, because it kind of all wraps up a little too neatly. But apart from that, I thought the performances were terrific, and it's very much this character story about mothers and daughters and reconnecting and kind of moving on from the mistakes of their past. And I was fascinated. I was totally hooked on this movie.
I viewed it as an allegory about women finding and accepting their own inner strength. Like, so often we are told as women to be demure, to be nice, to take care of others, to be self-deprecating. And I found this to be a metaphor for seizing who you are and being confident in the gifts that we have. And also, I viewed it as Gugu and Mbatha-Raw's characters struggling to be sober. And so once she has a grip on her sobriety, then she can also come into her own as far as her own quiet personal power that she has suppressed or she has been in doubt about. You could also look at it as just, a metaphor about motherhood, like whether or not you're ready to be a mom. They all find out where their place is in this relationship finally by the end, but it's slow, steady steps toward that within this sci-fi realm. The thing that they're able to do, the reason it's called fast color, I don't want to give it away totally, but it is a physical manifestation of this quiet inner power. And getting to that colorful place may sound like a very literal kind of manifestation of what's going on inside, but they use the low budget elements of it quite effectively.
Yeah, somebody on Twitter recently was saying, like, if we're going to have this many superhero movies now, then let's have superhero musicals and let's have superhero westerns and let's delve into places. And so I kind of like that this is this sort of superhero existential road picture / matriarchal drama / like family struggle thing. I'm a big fan of Miss Stevens, and if I'm less enthusiastic about this film is that it didn't hit me immediately the way that Miss Stevens did. But I do see this as a movie that I bet I'm going to see it again, and I think the more I see it, the more it's going to mean to me, and the more it's going to deliver. You mentioned the acting is great. There's also David Strathairn pops up as a local sheriff, and also Christopher Denham, who was memorable on Billions a couple seasons ago, turns up as this seemingly innocuous figure who may have more sinister portent.
Yeah, Julia Hart really achieves a lot in like subtle, efficient ways as far as indicating who these women are and what their relationship is with each other. There's a shot in the kitchen, and like the kind of old rundown kitchen. It's tidy, but it's it's old, it's outdated. And they go about the business of the morning of, making coffee, making whatever breakfast is available in this apocalyptic society. And they don't speak to each other. And you get a lot about who they are in the way that they silently communicate or don't communicate. And so it's a very effective, low-key bit of storytelling. I was really impressed by how it is able to do a lot with a little.
And why is Lorrain Toussaint not in everything?
She's so great. Her presence is
so
amazing.
Amazing.
It's like a regal kind of bearing, but she's also a badass.
Yeah.
Like she just commands our respect just by walking into a room.
She very lovely. Like she smokes a cigarette with a million things happening.
And the little girl in it too, Sandy Sydney, is also very good and not precocious and believable as a kid on the brink of teenagerdom and the angst that comes along with that. And so,
Miss Stevens marked the first time that I saw a young actor named Timothée Chalamet.
Young Timmy.
So maybe this will be a big launching pad for her.
Yeah, I like this a lot. So I'm saying 7.5.
I said 7, but again, check in with me in a couple of weeks after I've seen it once or twice more. I think it's probably gonna hit me harder, but I think there's a lot happening here, and I like it.
I liked it more than you guys. I give it a 8.5.
Okay, our number's a 7.7. It's at 74% on the tomato meter, so I believe it's limited this weekend, but very much worth finding when it makes its way to you.
Indeed, it is being released by Lionsgate's. I think Code Black is the shingle. So yeah, keep an eye out for this one. It's definitely something interesting and interesting counter programming to Avengers Endgame if that's not your bag. Thank you for watching here on YouTube. You can like this video, subscribe to our channel, and always, of course, check us out as the podcast on the various podcatchers. You can follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.